Nassau Mix.
Baby, there's nothing holding me back.
The 90s, 2K, and today.
I'm the one, yeah. I'm the one early.
The Nassau Mix. The 90s.
Me, baby, one more time.
2K.
That I know how to save a life.
And today.
Baby, slow hands.
The Nassau Mix.
Listen weekdays. The voice of Nassau Community College. 90.3 WHPC.
Hey.
The voice of Nassau Community College.
90.3 WHPC.
WHPC HD Garden City.
Happy July 3rd, 2017. Welcome to another edition of From the Press Box. I am one of the co-hosts, Rob Leonard. Joining me, of course, is my brother Tim, award-winning sports writer, as we talk sports every Monday, 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Here on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC, streaming at ncc.edu/WHPC. Also, it becomes a podcast at Spreaker later on in the day. Matter of fact, we just posted a whole bunch of older interviews with people we've done over the last couple of years, and you want to hear some of those, And last week we had was it last week? Yeah, last week. Last week we had.
Am I on yet?
Yeah, you're on. Why put your headphones on, brother?
I'm trying to figure out.
You're supposed to use the other mic. That's why.
Your phone is screwed up, but
It's not screwed. What's
yeah,
wrong?
it is.
What's wrong?
The Facebook Live is sideways.
Well, then why don't you put the phone sideways?
Because I don't know how to do this. With
Well,
your
you
phone.
turn the phone sideways.
Well,
Yeah, like that. How's that now?
now it's a wide shot. I'm not going to make any jokes about that.
It was so funny.
Funny stuff, right, Big Ed?
So anyway, last week we interviewed Richard Sandomir about his book about the pride of the Yankees, and we also interviewed Phil Mushnick, which was a fun interview with Phil. Phil's always fun. And Richard, we had a lot of questions we didn't get to. We had him on for a half hour. We were just starting to get into a lot of things about the movie and different things. But, at the same time, that's what he's selling, the differences. So
That's what it is.
Yeah, so anyway, brother, something happened last week that
A lot happened.
to me, brother, is something that more people are not talking about. And that is
Which, of course, is what you want to talk about.
No, it's not true. The Phil Jackson era, or whatever you want to call it.
Error.
Phil is gone.
Woohoo!
But I would expect more.
Cue up the Homer
paper-
Simpson sounds. Can we play those
No,
legally?
we don't have them.
Well, imagine it's Homer Simpson going, woohoo!
Yeah, well, it's hard to believe that he's gone. How did he leave?
It's not hard to believe he's gone because he should have been gone.
Well, he should
But
have been
here-
gone before the draft.
Yeah, well, that's the main problem that I'm having is Phil should have been gone before the draft.
And he wasn't.
And
Why
he
would you?
wasn't.
Why would you keep him?
Well, that tells me that whatever it is that happened quickly. Because it was you can't say that James Dolan was actually considering firing Phil because obviously he wasn't. Otherwise, he would have said it during, before the draft or
Right.
at some point. We would have had a clue or an inkling that Phil's job was in trouble, and we never had that clue or that inkling. So the problem that, and once again, the Knicks showing off their just complete dysfunction. They fire him after the draft and before free agency starts, which, I mean, if the Knicks would have asked somebody, hey, when's the worst possible time that we can fire the guy who's running the team? Boom, that day. The day the Knicks did it.
Yeah, I know.
All right? Because now you have a player who was drafted in this kid, Frank Nicolina, the French kid, as everybody was calling him, because his name is so bizarre and difficult to pronounce. But one of the main reasons this kid was drafted, and he's 18-year-old point guard out of France who really didn't put up any kind of great numbers or play very much against top competition over there. But now you have a kid who one of the main reasons he was drafted, as Phil Jackson said on draft night, was he's a good fit for the triangle. Well, goodbye triangle.
Goodbye,
We're
triangle.
not playing you anymore. So now the Knicks are in a situation where there were two guys on the board, and I said this after the draft, and I'll say it again. But two guys on the board in Dennis Smith Jr. and the Monk kid from Kentucky. Both of those guys were on the board when the Knicks picked Nicolina. And that's a problem because Monk was regarded as quite possibly the best shooter in the draft. All right, Malik Monk. And, if the Knicks wanted a point guard, why not go with Smith, who is a guy who has more experience, he's only a year older than Nicolina, but has top-level experience.
Right.
I know a lot of people were very impressed with him in the AAU scene before college, and he was regarded as one of the top prospects going into his freshman year. So why not pick that kind of guy? And he's a long guy. Nicolina, to his credit, he's 6'6", so he's a tall kid, but he played 15 minutes a game over in Europe.
But he knew the triangle.
Average 5 points a game. I don't even know if he knows the triangle that much, but Europeans are regarded as easier to teach because they're open to more, they're more fundamentally sound than American players, as sad and pathetic as that is, but it's true. But now you have Phil Jackson making a pick according to this archaic offense that he wants to run. And Jim Boeheim, by the way, said, I saw this quote very late last night while I was preparing for the show, said that the offense or the triangle offense is the worst offense in history. That's Jim Boeheim. I mean, not that Jim Boeheim is a great coach. I'm not. The guy has won.
The triangle is all it is. It's Red Holzman's pass to the open man,
which I understand.
That is what it is.
Well, in some regards, yes, you are correct. It's a method of sharing the ball, and I don't have any problems with sharing the ball. I like the way the Spurs play. The Spurs don't play a triangle though, but I like having all players involved in the offense and moving the ball. Yeah. And the Knicks don't do that, and the Knicks won't do that as long as Carmelo Anthony's on the roster because he's an isolation player. That's what he does, and he's their best player. Now, do I think Porzingis would prefer to play a more kind of flowing, free-flowing, weaving sort of an offense? Yeah, because that's what he was brought up on. But as long as Melo is there, that's the Knicks' problem. And will they solve that problem as well? Because just because Phil Jackson is gone, it doesn't mean Carmelo Anthony is staying.
That's true. I don't expect him to leave now, but you never know.
Well, as I was about to say, but the Knicks want to get something for Carmelo Anthony had the audacity to say, "Oh yeah, I'll accept a buyout." Hey, Melo, screw you.
Well, I would accept a buyout too.
Yeah, of course, I would accept a buyout too. Give me all the money you owe me for the next 2 years, so I can go sign with a contender. Oh, Melo, you'll accept a buyout. What a guy! Hey, to me, that's a coward. And that's a guy who is just only worried about himself. And that comment and that request just summed up Melo's career as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah,
because it was gutless, it was heartless, and it showed just absolutely just no affinity for his team at all. So if I'm the Knicks, I mean, at this point, you almost have to trade Melo for whatever you can get for him. And I hate to say that because he's a guy who has value. He's a guy that should bring back a first-round pick and a player. He should bring back something of value.
Well, my problem is that, Phil Jackson's gone. He talked badly about Carmelo for a long time. And he didn't do anything about it, though. He didn't try to trade him.
All he did, well, maybe he did try to trade him. I mean, we don't know what was going on behind the scenes.
That's true.
In fact, he probably did try to trade him.
But we didn't hear anything. We would have heard something.
I think he was shooting for the moon. He wanted to try to get Kevin Love from the Cavaliers. And there was no reason for the Cavaliers to make that trade because all it's going to do is hurt them in rebounding. Carmelo would pretty much do the same thing Kevin Love does, except he wouldn't try as hard. That's Carmelo's game.
Then again, LeBron might say to him, "Hey, we don't do that here."
Well, they're buddies.
Yeah,
I don't know that that's going to happen. That that LeBron is going to lecture Carmelo on something like that.
Right.
But you're talking about a situation where I don't know. Let's put it this way. I don't think that trade would have been smart for the Cavaliers, and I still don't think it'd be smart for the Cavaliers. So from that regard, they're not going to do that deal. If you're looking at it from another standpoint now, the Rockets are now in play because the Rockets just got Chris Paul from the LA Clippers for next to nothing because Chris Paul told the Clippers that he was leaving, and so they were like, all right, well, let's get something for him.
Right.
So they traded him to the Rockets while all these other teams were kind of trying to position themselves and get cap room and do all that. Well, all of a sudden it was like, oh, the Rockets. Okay, yeah, here's the deal. So now the Rockets are a team that's in play because people are seeing them as, oh, well, now they have Chris Paul and James Harden, and that's not such a bad, such a bad core couple of players. Now, if you add Melo to that mix, that's not a bad team. That's a semifinals team in the West. But the Rockets' answer to the Knicks when they say, well, what do you want for Carmelo Anthony is, well, we'll give you Ryan Anderson's contract. Ryan Anderson is a former New Jersey Net, Brooklyn Net, actually New Jersey Net, I don't think he made it to Brooklyn, who was on one of the worst, I didn't even know he had gotten his contract. He is owed another 3 years and $63 million.
Wow.
He scored 14 points last year in a game, and I don't even know how he did that because he's not that good a player. But now you're on the hook for $21 million a year for the next 3 years. There's no way. I'll let Melo play the next 2 years for the Knicks if I'm the Knicks instead of taking on that garbage contract because Melo's only got 2 years left.
But then again, the NBA started their free agent signings, and a lot of money is being.
The money's insane.
It's all that ESPN, ABC money.
Absolutely insane. That's not going to last.
That's not.
We had this talk with Mushnick last week.
Well, it lasts for the next 8 years, and then after that, it's over because ESPN won't be able to dish out that money anymore. So
NBA players, get it while you can.
Yeah, so
that's
this
not
is your last
that contract.
go-around.
That contract is not going to be repeated.
Steph Curry, $201 million for a 5-year deal, man. That's
some serious green. First $200 million contract in NBA history. First, as far as I know, and I don't think there has been one before, first $40 million a year athlete.
I'm reminded of what Joe DiMaggio said. They interviewed him once, and they said, "What would you ask for a salary today?" And he says, "Well, hello, partner."
Yeah. I'd go into his office, stick my hand out, and say, "Hello, partner."
Yeah. So that's
he's right.
He's right. $200 million is 1/6 of the value of the team, 1/7, maybe $1.4 billion.
Well, the Warriors right now probably are worth $2 billion.
Okay.
And I'll tell you what. I heard
so
this,
10%.
and I think it was LeBron who said this, and I can't necessarily disagree with him, is that the maximum salary in the NBA is almost an injustice because the value of the Warriors has more than doubled, more than likely, in the last 5 years. And a big reason for that is Steph Curry.
Yeah.
So the fact that he's getting paid, I don't even mind that so much because the owner of the franchise has been so massively enriched by his presence. It's probably still not enough when you talk about it in those terms. I mean, believe me, $40 million, anybody who's making $40 million in 1 year, I don't care who it is. You're overpaid.
Yeah.
I don't care what your job, especially for playing basketball. But in the sense that this is the system and this is how it is, would an NBA franchise out there, would just one NBA franchise out there have given Steph Curry more than $40 million a year? Yeah, I think there's at least one that would.
I think the Knicks would have.
The Knicks certainly would have. But if you could fit it in your cap, and if that part of it was still in effect, but there's got to be at least one team out there that would have said, you know what, we'll give you 5 years for $210.
Yeah.
You can't tell me that wouldn't have happened.
And
so
it goes up to $250.
Well,
and if you do it right, you spread the contract out if you can. You make it. It's still a 5-year deal, but you pay it off after 10 or something.
I don't know if the NBA does that as much as like baseball. Like the Washington Nationals are famous for doing that sort of thing. Where like Max Scherzer Max Scherzer is his deal. I forget what the exact numbers were, but it was something in the neighborhood of